Welcome back. I hope during the networking break you met with new people all around the world. If you're ready for the second speaker of the day, I would like to introduce you with Mr. Soumen Sarkar. He is an adaptable software engineering leader, architect, and manager with experience in working on different problems in different markets. He has more than 15 years of hands on software design and programming experience, more than 8 years of agile product management and senior develop leadership. So, welcome, Mr. Soumen Sarkar. Oh, today you will talk about strategies of adaptive project management from Crust to core. What would you
Yeah.
like to say before you start your presentation?
Yeah, so I think there needs to be more discussion on adaptability. I reckon there has been a lot of discussion on agility and adaptability or project management is basically mode change. So and it is linked to the theory of emergency management, like as we are doing now. And as you know, like as the world becomes more fast paced, even if we do not have natural disasters, we may have like man-made or man-created disasters, like the financial meltdown that we are experiencing last 2 3 weeks, Silicon Valley Bank going down and Credit Suisse being taken over by UBS. So I would say that if we want to be a responsible participant in this complex, connected, hyper fast ecosystem, we need to be prepared for fast mode change where things happen very fast. For example, Silicon Valley Bank basically just went down in 2 days, Thursday and Friday, followed by takeover by Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation on Sunday, followed by few weeks, followed by takeover by another bank, First Citizens Bank, like as we are speaking, like this Monday or this Sunday. So I think the more we talk about adaptability in couple with agility, the better service we can be to the society as managers, leaders, engineers, and such and such.
Yeah, we realized that actually after the earthquake disaster, emergency management and adaptive management is so crucial during the disaster. So you're also from India, and India has a very high frequency of great earthquakes. So you're familiar with earthquakes and disasters. So the reason we are together today is to support that kind of victims of that kind of disaster. So we would like to say together we can. And before
Yes.
I give the verse to you, I would like to remind that you will see a QR code for donation on your screen.
Okay.
And please do not forget to donate to support earthquake victims. So, Mr. Soumen Sarkar, stage is yours. We would like to share your screen, your presentation.
Okay. So I'll go now. I'll do slideshow. Are you good to go? So again, thanks to PMI for the opportunity, and I'm happy to do it. I did the care donation, and I encourage you to donate as well. So uh, my topic is strategies for adaptive project management from Crust to core, and I'll justify this title as I go through the presentation. In the right hand side, you see a neat graphic for emergency project management or disaster management cycle. So what happens is that you start with the disaster in red, and then first thing you do is you do respond, uh, saving lives, and then after you do the first emergency act of responding to disaster, then you focus on recovery, like we are doing now. Raising funds, properly disbursing funds, and such and such. So that is the yellow mark part of this graphic, starting with red. Red is disaster. Then you get into the green part, which is mitigation, like you basically plan, thought leadership, so that things do not happen again, or if things do happen again, then how we can minimize the impact of things that happen again, disaster that happen again. And then finally, you basically prepare to basically for the next disaster if it arrives. For example, buying emergency supplies and such and such. So that's the disaster management cycle, and that's what this whole presentation is going to be. It is going to be a technical presentation, but many things that Billy said, right, that is in the earlier presentation, is actually applicable to this, reflected in this presentation. So this presentation, they are linked, and if you watch it again later, you will see a connection, a lot of similarities and synergies. So I am here to share my experience, my share of doing adaptive project management during disaster time and recovery times. I have been here in Silicon Valley since 1996, and we are watching that software systems, they're becoming increasingly complex, and sometimes they're becoming less service to the society in general. So we would like to correct that. We would like to basically be more resilient, more value providing to the society, more robust. So that's what the motivation for the talk. And about me, I have had my fair share of disaster experience. For example, in 2004, a release in 2004 caused millions of dollar losses and reputation for a payment platform. And the technical leader, chief technical leader, had to exit after a few months. So and then during that period, I went through the burn, and then as I went through the burn, right, I made a promise to myself to share my experience with project management under chaos. So basically, in that way, it's basically a long held dream come true doing this presentation. And I remember that I care to prevent harmful stress and burnout, and I encourage you to do so. And if you look at Billy's presentation, like he talks about these things. So in that way, it's a pretty complementary presentation to the earlier presentation. So the first question is that how many disasters do you need to experience to practice adaptive project management? So the answer is just one. We'll be fool not to basically learn from that burning experience and then not to apply in our future situations. So, and as you know, like as human beings, as we are going through thousands and thousands years of history, we actually have learned to apply the lessons learned. So I'm pretty confident that I'm just preaching to the choir, but still we should remember, that we just will be fortunate to have even one disaster experience so that we can apply what is being talked here and earlier by Billy to practice. So what can go wrong will go wrong unless you identify potential problems earlier. So that's the core message of this slide. And then why practice adaptive project management? So there is a tip from, I'll explain who this person is, a very famous quote, and basically defines the core of this practice, adaptive project management. So first thing is that, this is Dr. Deming, and Dr. Deming said something which has basically become one of my principles as technical manager. So that principle is that 94% of the problems in business are system driven and only 6% are people driven. I'm not going to dispute these numbers and all those things, but like this at the core, this really speaks the truth. And Dr. Deming is an expert on systems theory and project and program management. And many times I have seen that, I have experienced that the core focus is not on this particular realization from such a noted expert, Dr. Deming. So let's keep in mind that we have this learning. And the other learning is this is Donald Rumsfeld, one of the earlier defense secretary. And he has basically this quote that there are known knowns, there are things we know we know. We also know there are known unknowns. That is to say, we know there are some things we do not know, but there are unknown unknowns. The ones we do not know, we do not know. And then finally, there are complete unknowns. So, so like we can never hope to know. So these two quotes, right, like basically gives us the architecture for these adaptive project management in times of chaos or in times of stress. How? So so basically, this is another visualization of what we just said. That the knowledge landscape is basically like this iceberg, which is a clearly visible part above the surface of the water. Then there is a little bit visible part, the yellow arrow, and then there is this red arrow of like what you really should know or beneath the surface of the water. And then as you go down, what you may never know, and then there is truly unknown as you go deeper and deeper. And and you know we are basically unfortunately subjected to like this situation as human beings. And as I said, that we have made progress of knowing the great unknown. We have made a lot of progress, and that's why we have come to this advanced state of civilization. So there is hope. There is a lot of hope. Here is a 10-point architecture. Yeah, I thought why adaptive project management we need to practice. The first point is that like adaptability is needed to survive. Survival is not guaranteed, but if we are adaptable, then survival probability goes up. Then the second point is that survival is uncertain. So we do not know whether we'll actually survive in a chaotic situation, in a stress situation. So we already know that is uncertain. And then third is that the uncertainty can be modeled as a knowledge issue. Means we do not know, or we do not know the structure of the knowledge that we do not know, or partially know, or hazily know. So then what we can do is that we can basically try to plan this fighting with this unknown with as a way by knowledge, plan knowledge navigation. And I'll definitely illustrate what I'm saying here. But this first step that will say that we need to know what we might hazily know, or what we do not know, as a way of planned knowledge navigation. So the fifth is knowledge navigation can be planned. I'll show that in this presentation. Then when the disaster arrives, leverage the planned knowledge. That's there because we did the work. And then also be adept in quick decision making, which is a different art. There is slow decision making and there is quick decision making. So that art needs to be known, quick decision making. But six helps you quite a lot. Leverage the planned knowledge, and then gather information on failure modes in advance. Very, very true. I'll give you an example as I go through the presentation. And then the other thing that Billy also said, right? The adaptive project management is not about the iron triangle. And I also said at the beginning, it's about a completely different way of managing projects, which this is a technical presentation. This is one example. But it is definitely a good example of why adaptive project management is not about usual iron triangle. And then finally, the point number 10 is the luck favors the prepared. And we need a lot of luck during disaster times or chaotic times. So that's the 10-point architecture. And then, these examples, and I'm going to talk only one example because it's very current. Current means this week. Federal Reserve and Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation is actually appearing in front of United States Congress to basically share information what happened with Silicon Valley Bank failure. So that's right now. Means today and tomorrow that testimony is happening. And then recent was Boeing 737 Max, and then before that 2010 BP oil spill. Before that Washington Metro collision, two trains collided. and it was very inexplicable how that can happen. And then finally, 1986 Chernobyl disaster. I'm pretty sure if you want, you can insert something in between. But I think this five is good enough. This is a very famous book on the right on this topic, and I'm going to use other books also to basically give a pointer, just a humble pointer and experience sharing, like what would be basically our steps and foray into adaptive project management. This is I'm by no means I'm an expert. I'm just sharing my experience with what I understand what adaptive project management could be. So here is the book. This is the book on three mile nuclear accident, and it basically says that like when you talk about these interconnected systems, very fast failures, we are talking about systems. We are talking about systems which are made of complex technologies, and then people interaction and people's understanding of the technology and the first feedback loop. What things going wrong very fast. So, and which is very true. Like if I just take a look at Silicon Valley Bank failure, which has happened within last few weeks, it is similar to in dynamics, similar to what has happened in 3 Mile Island. So that's the book about normal accidents. What it says is that accidents are normal. We just need to be prepared about it to deal with accidents and more in the fast-paced society. So here is my experience. I said I have experience, and I have one big experience, and then that basically prepared me to do this presentation. So in 2004, a high-scale payment company in Silicon Valley, where I have been working since 1996, wanted to horizontally scale out the transaction database. Why? Because they are running out of the capacity of one database they have. So it is a very natural desire to basically copy the data, the ledger data, from one database to two databases to start with. Now, this is an online transaction processing company. So constantly, it's a high volume online transaction processing company. So as they cut the database, right, when they make the change, it introduces a two-phase commit protocol, which is the next slide. So in two-phase commit protocol, remember, we need to maintain ledger consistency. Means if $100 was credited from my account, then it has to be credited to my account, then it has to be debited from another account. Otherwise, there'll be unexplained losses or gains or something like that, right? So the two-phase transaction that works like this, the client transaction coordinator basically tells the first database and the second database, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to take out money, $100, and give money $100. Are you okay? Are you okay? And they say, okay, okay. Then there is a commit. Commit one, commit two. So this whole process is slow. And then we understood after we basically released this that the whole payment volume plummeted. And we understood that the release was a failure. We needed to roll back. And roll back to the first previous release, which is basically one copy of the database. And we struggled and struggled and struggled for 33 plus hours. And during that hour, those 33 plus hours, this is a classic project management under chaos. Millions were lost because the payments could not be processed. And there was in-doubt payments. And the reputation was lost as well, because we could not roll back fast to the original architecture. So then so basically why it happened, that company is in Silicon Valley. There are technical experts. So why do a release and then not able to roll back for 33 plus hours, millions of dollars lost, reputation lost. So it was really messy. So the reason is that the central reason of this is that often when you do project management, system management, complex technology management, we as humans basically we have a map. We have access to a map. We do not have access to the territory. So we look at the world. Then we basically, here is the world, the circle, blue circle. And then we basically form a model of the world in our brain, which is like a multicolored cube inside our brain. then that comes out through our mouth as spoken word language, then that's become communication, and then there is a big team, and then we try to like achieve some complex technical objective, like cutting one database into two pieces and then try to scale up the site. So basically what happened is that we did not expect high error percentage because we have access to a map, and the map was not the reflection of the reality. And then payment platform users were extremely noisy, so they are very vocal. So that also we probably couldn't gauge. And then the load and performance stage that we did was just a map. Like it is not at all a faithful representation of the reality of the real payment platform that is there out in the stage, out in the production. So we did load and performance, and then we provided some data. Like I remember 20% degradation in performance, but that was no way of indicating that the release itself will be a failure. So again, just remember that when we are grappling with complex systems, and these systems are becoming ever faster and faster and faster, interconnected, and complex and complex and complex, that we basically have a shrinking map of the actual territory. So this shrinking map, if we do not practice project management excellence, both in agility and adaptability, then what we'll see is that we'll see increasing frequency of disaster and reaction to disaster and people burning out, which as I said, as a manager, I would not like that to happen. Hence the experience sharing. So that, and then, it basically goes into these kind of questions, why practice adaptive project management? And the answer is that to survive, which is linked to this conference that we're having, and which is linked to the earlier talk by Billy, like, how you fall down and get up and survive. So here in this slide, it says to contain chaos, which is basically your emergency response, that is your first priority. Then be prepared to operate in degraded mode for quite some time. And then you do your adaptive project management, phase 1, contain chaos, phase 2, degraded mode. And then finally, phase 3, basically go back and operate in the new normal. So for my case, like this thing, right? So first was containing chaos and rollback, which is 33 plus hours. Then degraded mode, because the payment volume is not going to stop. People complained, it became a public relations issue. We worked and worked and worked 33 plus hours. Somehow we roll back to the last architecture, and then we operate in degraded and cautious mode for multiple weeks. And then there was a new data architecture which rolled out after, I think, 14 months. So that we had to do so much of work to basically stop this happening again, which is the classic the disaster management lifecycle that I have shown right in the first slide. So that's basically, now we are in the thick of the territory of adaptive project management, right? Like, we basically contain chaos phase 1, then operate in degraded mode, collect a lot of data, and then ultimately adapt to a new normal, which in my case was a new data architecture, which is resilient to this kind of failure and resilient to scaling up the site, the payment volume. So that's what happened. So again, to reinforce the point, this adaptive project management is a mode change. It is basically a mode change. It is not about business as usual. Project management around angle, scope, time, and cost. It's basically a different way of thinking. It's a phase transition in thinking and action and leadership. Is about to adapt to survive, adapt to normalcy, and then adapt to resilience. Adapt to resilience means if you make this normal practice, this adaptive project management, then resilience will basically automatically become a part of your gene, a part of your DNA, because you are practicing these different ways of thinking of like sudden phase change, and you have preparedness, like the disaster management lifecycle I have shown, preparedness and mitigation and all those things right in advance. The green part of that disaster management lifecycle. So so that's why we are having this presentation. So so basically, let's say that what is how can you think about containing chaos? So so like for what we can say is that the disasters, they do not just appear one day. For example, a Silicon Valley bank failure, it was known that they are running into interest rate risk around 9 months from here. So they were meeting federal representative and basically thinking what to do, but suddenly they had a bank run and they went within 2 days, Thursday and Friday. So disasters do not just appear in one day; they exist throughout time and have a life cycle of occurrence. This cycle is matched by a series of management phases, establish strategies to mitigate hazards, prepare for and respond to emergencies, and recover from effects. And also remember that complete chaos is not possible. Like there is always meaningful information that can be gleaned out of chaos to go to the order. It's all about your mind, our mindset, adaptability mindset, and preparedness mindset, and disaster management mindset, and disaster management awareness that basically prepares us to contain chaos. So here are the proofs in the few slides. First is that we need to know this, like with the known knowns, business as usual, traditional project management iron triangle. Unknown knowns, first step towards adaptive project management. Like when you get out of the comfort of known knowns and then take the first step towards unknown knowns, then you discover that pleasantly that you have these skills to use in the disaster times, and then you basically keep an inventory of unknown knowns as you discover more and more. And the known unknowns is that you already know that things will go wrong, but you do not know exact way to manage known unknowns. For example, you are taking a trip, a cross country trip in United States during Thanksgiving, and planes can get cancelled. But if planes get cancelled and you are in Kansas, Wichita, Kansas, then you can take trains and automobiles. And I have borrowed this from a wonderful movie called Plane, Trains, and Automobiles. So that is known unknowns. You know that planes can get cancelled, and then you'll be left in some airport, and then you can still make a way to your home in Silicon Valley or Colorado, Denver, Colorado, by using trains and buses and hitching rides and such and such. So that's known unknowns. And then the most dangerous part is unknown unknowns, which this Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld is so famous for. And that is where you basically shine or excel as an adaptive project manager or program manager. And further slides tell you how this happens. So as you said, as I said, the reduce unknown, which is a big step towards adaptive project management. So the way one way it can be done is pre-mortem. So in pre-mortem, you imagine it has failed, and your effort has failed, your project release has failed, or project has failed, and then you back up and see what you can do, preparedness that can help you. And then comes product launch day or project launch day, and then you have post-mortem. Things go wrong. So remember that this is one of the great technique, pre-mortem, and it's basically it goes to a reducing unknown. So and then the next 3 points is okay to have known unknowns. That's obvious that if you know certain abstract architecture of the unknowns, then it is known unknowns because you know certain architecture about the unknowns. Like the plane may get cancelled or diverted. Then I might need to book a motel for one night, then take a train, then take a bus, and then maybe finally hitch a ride to go to my home in time. And then I talked about pre-mortem. And then, of course, we can analyze past post-mortems to learn from past disasters, and then basically learn from that and be prepared. So for pre-mortem, if you want to know that, right, this is the inventor Gary Klein, and this basically says the steps how you can actually conduct pre-mortem. So the purpose of pre-mortem is to identify trouble spots, obvious, reduce overconfidence, that could be a problem, improve mental model, and also increase trust among team members that there is an adaptive project manager who is thinking about this, and basically improves the systemic trust, people, process, technology into a big change that is about to go, like the release, the project release or product release. So it's really a noble act to do. Then, promote system thinking culture. This is another good book that and as a adaptive project management leader, you can promote the system thinking culture. So lead in system thinking, read up about it, and then go to the system owners, subsystem owners, and say that you need to do more of system thinking, more going across your boundaries, and see where how things can break in integration, subsystem integration. And then avoid bureaucracy. I'll expand on this later, like later slides, but just remember that. So as I said, like for banks, there is already a practice mandated by Federal Reserve or central banks to do stress test. And Silicon Valley Bank deliberately didn't do that. So that also basically uh, points to this conundrum that in order to practice adaptive project management, you need to have a supportive culture, a supportive encompassing culture of management, of basically making the organization more resilient, more robust to chaos or to disasters. So in this case, Federal Reserve, like I have their testimony, which happened today and is going to happen tomorrow, that they are squarely blaming on the management of Silicon Valley Bank. So that makes the point, so it could have been done, stress test, but they didn't do it. And it can be a simulation or it can be real. For technical systems, it is often real. Real means the system is actually subjected to real stress, basically in certain hours of the day when customer traffic is not there. Or it can be simulation, like like the bank stress test. And then you need to note what is not covered, because often stress test is such a hazardous activity to do, if it is real, that often many things will not be covered. So if you note what is not covered, then that may give you some idea about about this about this, like what may be the gaps. So that
Mr. Sarkar, we have many questions. If we can finish in a few minutes, it will be
okay,
really, really nice. We can have it.
sure, great. So then the another test is the chaos test. It's also a very new branch of engineering, where you deliberately take the infrastructure out and see how the system behaves. This has basically come as the infrastructure has become more cloud and cloud oriented. So that's great. That is one pointer. And then the bureaucracy is that like the more you're mired into bureaucracy, the more you are inside the Plato's cave. And this each Plato's cave is called a department. And we are talking about systemic risk. So the more we can know about Plato's cave, what happened in Plato's cave, and bureaucracy and the harmful effects of bureaucracy, at least for resiliency and robustness and survivability, the better. So this slide is on that. So we can definitely come back to that during Q&A session. And this is the most important slide I am very proud of. If you really want to be survival, if you want to survive, right, then you really need to have a core diversity in your heart and mind and blood and body. Because the more diverse you are, the more welcoming you are, the more input you will get, that you might be able to like process as an adaptive project management head. So the more diverse is your outlook, the better the input will be. So that diversity is your friend. It's a broad-based tapping into knowledge. And then the companies, as I said, there are some companies whose management is dedicated to make them 10x companies, which is this book, Dead by Choice. So if you are in that kind of companies, or companies which are trying to be like these companies like Amgen, Biomet, Intel, Microsoft, Progressive Insurance, Southwest Airlines, Stryker, then I feel that you can get more health support, management support as an adaptive project manager. And then, last slide, systems, not people. So pre-mortem versus post-mortem, stress test versus stress, chaos engineering versus chaos. It's your choice. So yeah, this is the last slide. So I think I'm ready for questions. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. It was very informative and enlightening presentation. We have many questions, but we only left
Okay.
6 minutes to break, actually 5. So first question is coming. Some even say there is no existing absolute reality. All there is what every individual perceives and completes to their reality.
Sure. So it's a really deep question. Thank you for that. So as you know, thanks for posing this question. We are a part of an organization which has organization mission and success desire and such and such. So even if people have their absolute reality, every individual perceives and completes their reality, there can be a model that can be constructed, and that model can be pursued, and say that we want to pursue this model, this release, and this is how we want to contain risk, or this is how we want to adapt. So as a leader, right, as an adaptive project management leader, it is that or those individuals' responsibility of edifying the model. What are the risk model? What are the adaptability model? And how we can work together, like we are doing now, to respond and mitigate and prepare for the respond, recover, mitigate, and prepare for the next crisis, like we are doing it now. So even if the earlier session Billy also said, people may have their own situation, but the contextualization, that is the word Billy used. So similarly, as a leader, I have high hope that we should be able to basically construct a shared reality and prepare for the disaster, next disaster.
Thank you. One question from Michelle Tree. Early humans were used to continually adapting to an environment that was changing. Today, we build environments that we control and have lost our capability to adapt. How can we regain it?
Yeah, so I cannot say that I know answer to this full answer to this question, especially in the age of AI. But just to let you know how current this question is, just today, not even yesterday, today there was an open letter that was released by Elon Musk and Gary Marcus and other people, who basically pleading to OpenAI to stop, please stop development of ChatGPT 5 for 6 months, because the the advancement from ChatGPT 2 to ChatGPT 3 to ChatGPT 4 is so scary, especially between ChatGPT 3 and ChatGPT 4, November of 2012, 2022 to February of 2023, just 3 months. And the amount of advancement that has gone in, the capability that we humans, we do not know how we can cope with ChatGPT 5. So I can give some answers, but I frankly do not know. We need to basically go for global understanding, like what we are doing. So, but it's really like a deep question.
Oh, thank you. We all facing with AI and new trends. So another question from Elizabeth Hector: what should we be doing now to create more adaptive approaches?
Yeah, so if we are building system, right? So we can basically practice, like, this is just a tip of the iceberg. What this slide deck has shown. We can practice more of chaos engineering. We can practice more of stress testing. We can practice more of a game day, which is a joint exercise of how the system, the technical system, and how the human system, like the pure human system, the human resources and departments and organization, and how the human understanding of the system and how the human interaction based on the organization, based on the understanding, like documentation and such knowledge, and how that evolved when a chaos was presented, like game day. So what I said in my answer is that we can practice more game day, we can practice more of chaos engineering, we can practice more of stress testing, and we can practice more of a discussion like this, what we're having, to answer questions like this, like what we should be doing now to create more adaptive.
Thank you for that. That question brings me another one, which I was prepared, and it is just matching. When I listen your presentation, you mentioned about unknown unknowns, and uncertainty. And as a reader of the book, How to Measure Anything, and the Black Swan, I think that this adaptive project management approach is more risk management based methodology than the other approaches. Would you agree with that, or would you say anything about it? And this is the last question. We are finishing the session.
I definitely would agree with that because when you are saying unknown, right, it's basically a knowledge risk, and the knowledge is basically our ability to understand our environment and respond to that, to our benefit, to everybody's benefit, including the whole ecosystem, including animals, the biosphere, and all those things. So if the risk that we generally talk about is basically knowledge risk, like what we do not know, what we have not modeled, which dynamics we do not understand. So I'd say yes. The answer is squarely yes. Thanks for asking the question. Answer is squarely yes. Like it's a knowledge navigation challenge, and then assigning probability measure. That's a another like formal risk management. But just taking the first two three steps, that counts a lot.
So thank you so much, Soumen Sarkar. It was a pleasure to host you. So we will continue with our third speaker today. You can see the QR code on the screen to donate. And we
Okay.
will have a networking break now. Please do not forget to meet with people and see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.